Good morning, everybody. Just having a little bit of a reflection right now. So, I just had this exchange with my son, who's going to be 21 in a couple of months. And, I came in the house and asked him to come out because I had some things that I needed him to do. There's a lot of things that need to get done around the house. I delegate things to him because, one, I'm teaching him how to do these things, and two, there's no reason why he can't do some of the things that I've shown him how to do and, take some load off of me, because there's lots of stuff to do around the house, always. So, anyhow, he responded, when I knocked on the door in a way that I wasn't pleased, right? And so I felt disrespected, but I also felt like I needed to deal with my feelings before I dealt with him, right? So, the car that he drives to work had a nail in the tire, right? And I can do it, but I think it's important to make him do it so that, as a young person, he can learn how to deal with situations that arise. And I've shown him how to do it, repair, put a plug in the tire, but I still felt like he should do it. Like, why should I do it? I don't know. I mean, I could have done it. It would have been easy. It would have been a 10-minute thing. But instead, I waited for him to come out, and then he did it, right? I got all the tools ready. First I had to deal with myself, right? And I had to ask myself, how's he responding to me that way? I don't want to get my blood pressure up, so I'm not really trying to be yelling at people or anything like that. I'm a grown up, he's a grown up, and I should be able to talk to him, but I'm also teaching him, right? Teaching him lessons in life that he needs to learn so that he can get along with other people, right? So I just, I started doing something else. I came out, I noticed that there was a nail in the tire, and I sent him a text because I know he has to go to work soon. And I said, hey, there's a nail in your tire. He was like, oh man, dang, you want me to come out and help you fix it? And I said, yeah, come out and help me fix it. So he came out, I got all the tools together, and then I just told him what to do. And he's done it before, so, he got his motion together, he got his grip together, and, he handled the thing. It's not an easy thing to do, to plug a tire, but, a 20-year-old can do it if you show him how to do it. And that's my point for this morning, because he came out, like I said, I got all the tools together and I directed him on how to do it. And then, I had him pull the van up in the driveway so that we could reach the air. I got an air compressor in this corner right here. So I had him pull the car up in the driveway because it was on the street so that he could reach the air. And then I, showed him how to know how much pressure to put in the tire, and then I showed him what it says on the tire, and then I showed him what it says on the door jamb on the driver's side. There's a little sticker that says how much air should actually be in the tires, and they were all low, right? So I'm glad we checked and didn't just put air in the one tire. First I was thinking, well, they should match in the front. So check the other side, and then we checked all four, and they were all low. So I'm glad that we checked and that we refilled the tires because I want my son to be safe driving on the road. I had a little issue with his windshield wiper that I remedied this morning. But that's not the point that I'm making. Within the last couple of weeks, I saw a video of a woman berating her son because he didn't know how to put gas from a gas can into the car, right? And my point is that, it's difficult to teach somebody how to do something. And a lot of times we think we're teaching somebody how to do something when we're really just, berating them or, what have you. But when you're teaching somebody how to do something, and maybe you've experienced this training somebody at work, but you show them how to do it, you watch them do it, and then you walk away and let them do it. And then you come back and you find that they're not doing it correctly, so you correct them. And it takes a lot of patience. It takes patience to show somebody how to do something. And I think that we as parents are responsible for teaching our children how to do things. Now, oftentimes I see people complaining about their children and talking about this generation as though they don't know how to do stuff. It's your job to teach them how to do stuff, right? And even though they're growing up in this generation with computer screens and video games and stuff like that, and we talk about them and how different they are from us. And I was born in the 70s and grew up in the 80s and 90s, and so I'm from that generation of somewhat hard knocks, not as hard as the generation before us that had to deal with the Depression, but you know what I'm saying, I definitely grew up in an era where things were kind of tough and you had to have situational awareness and you had to, think on your feet and be able to, solve problems on your own because there wasn't always an adult there that could come and save you, and we were, independent. So, what they say about our generation is true, right? And what is being said about this current generation is also true. The screens and the stuff, the distractions, the video games are a problem, and they're shielding our children from reality. But it's our responsibility to bring them back, not theirs. So, I take offense to people who, downplay or, berate young people because they're a part of this generation. The things that we say about them, it is true, but it's our responsibility to do something about it. So my son came out here and he noticed that I was short with him, and he was like, you seem upset. I was like, yeah, well, I didn't like the way you spoke to me when I knocked on your door. And he was like, and I figured that he was probably, because he's in school and he's online. So I probably was interrupting him while he was doing whatever you have to do online. I didn't take online classes, so I don't know what that's like, right? But I was interrupting him while he was online with his classmates or doing whatever he has to do online. And I figured that. And he said that to me. And I said, okay, well, I figured that's what you were doing, but I didn't like the way you spoke to me. And I don't appreciate that, right? And so that's the way I feel about it. And he thought about it and he apologized. And he was like, in the future, don't hesitate to tell me, what I'm saying, if I sound disrespectful, because he doesn't want to have a bad relationship with his dad. I don't want to have a bad relationship with him. And that's why I didn't go off on him. That's why I composed myself and got myself together and thought about the possibilities. And it turns out that he was online with his class. I still don't like the way he talked to me, but I don't think he'll do that again in the future. But if he does, I have to remind him again, because this is what teaching is about. Change takes place over time. And teaching is something that takes place over time. It requires patience, and you have to be willing to allow somebody to do something wrong, correct them without hurting them. So, I don't know, you can call it soft parenting if you want to. I know how I was raised, and we all raise our children according to, the way our parents raised us in one way or another. We're either trying to do what our parents did or we're trying to not do what our parents did. And we're also trying to, take examples from other people who we've encountered, who were either beneficial to us learning or not, right? And we try to avoid some of the things that aren't helpful, but sometimes we fall into it, and I can identify with that, for sure. But I'm trying to do better. I want everybody else out there to do better. We got a generation to raise, and these are the people that's supposed to be saving us. All right? All right.